do we really want to save the bees, or do we want to save our food security? Or do we want to save the income for the commercial beekeepers? Can we save only one species?
Hey Leute, ich freue mich richtig krass, dass ihr wieder da seid. Mein heutiger Gast ist Annelieke. Annelieke wurde mir als die Bienenpriesterin vorgestellt. Und da habe ich gedacht, what? Wer ist die Bienenpriesterin? Ich hatte selber 2 Bienenvölker und mich so ein bisschen mit wesensgemäßer Bienenhaltung beschäftigt. Aber was Annelieke macht, das zieht das Ganze nochmal so voll auf ein Champions League Level. Als wir dann zusammen die Bienen besucht haben in der Natur, das waren Wildbienen, hatte sie schon von ferne gesagt, wo spürst du die Bienen, wo spürst du die Bienen, wo sind sie? Und ich so, hä, wie, wo spürst du die Bienen? Ja, mach mal die Augen zu. Und ich konnte fühlen, in welche Richtung sie sind. Und danach meinte sie, ja, aber wo fühlst du sie im Körper? Und dann dachte ich, ey, das ist doch Hokuspokus, das ist kompletter Bullshit. Dann habe ich aber so ein Bitzeln in meinen Lippen gespürt. Und dann an dem Baum, wo die Bienen drin gelebt haben, meinte sie, mach mal die Augen zu, was siehst du? Und dann habe ich Blitze, Donner und Wölfe gesehen und dachte so, ey, okay, da ist auf jeden Fall wieder mehr, als ich mit meinem bloßen Auge sehen kann. Und Annelieke spricht auch von einem Portal, von einer Brücke in eine andere Dimension, was die Bienen sind. Und ja, ich wünsche euch jetzt einfach viel Freude, wieder viel Intensität mit Annelieke. You were introduced to me as the bee priest.
Funny.
And I thought, like, who is this bee priest? People were talking about you. And I thought, okay, I know a little bit about bees. I had 2 own bee stocks. And but then we spent a day with you and I was overwhelmed because this was a whole new level, a new game of connecting to this being. And so what's up with the bees? I mean, yeah. Like before we start, because I always have this one question, what are you grateful for?
Oh, I'm very grateful to be alive, and especially in these times. There is so much new that is surfacing, and so much we are also realizing about I don't know how to put this in words. So there is, at one hand, I see that there are a lot of things that is, what the heck are we in as humanity and with our world? And at the same time, I see so much beauty and so much possibility. So, and then when I see well, I can say it like this: the more I'm in connection with the bees, with the forest, I start to be in touch with bigger energies. And so there is so much potential. We can co-create with so many amazing forces and beings. And so also to come back about what you were saying, like meeting me as a bee priest, I feel I come to the bees with a very open heart and with a lot of humbleness and curiosity, and I want to be with them and to learn with them about everything. They have so much to share, and also to discover more about how life can be when we are so intimately connected, and when everything is based on a huge awareness and love for being.
So what can we learn from the bees?
Oh. I think that depends very much who you are yourself. I think that everybody who goes to the bees and who feels that there is a curiosity and a receptivity can learn a lot. First of all, because the bees are connected with everything around them in the landscape. So when you start to spend more time with the bees, you start to become much more aware of all those relationships and how everything is co-creating. And then, of course, the differences in senses. If I go to the hive, I feel that through the sound and the smell of the hive, my heart is opening, my nervous system is relaxing, my senses are opening. So then there are so many other things I can become aware of, and I naturally start to spend more time there because I'm attracted. It's nourishing and expanding to spend time with the bees. And then, of course, they are a fascinating being in their collectiveness. They are a community of bees in their hive, and then there are definitely also connections not only between the different bee colonies, but also the bees with other energies. And for me, the bees, the frequencies of the bees also tell me things about what is not visible, what is maybe not even from this time. For me, the bees are also connected with energies, healing. So actually for me, the bees have somehow a connection with everything that I am interested in life.
Yeah, because I remember the first time we went to your hive, you were asking me, where do you feel the bees? And I was like, what do you mean? What kind of question is that? Where do I feel the hive? And then I closed my eyes and I tried to feel them. And then I remember that I felt them in my lips. There was like electricity going on here. And I was like, oh. And then my old voice is saying like, no, it has nothing to do with the bees. It can't be real. But it was real. And there were another few examples where, okay, close your eyes. What do you see? What kind of picture do you see? So when you say they have a connection to another time or another dimension, so you think they're like a bridge?
Yeah, like in many cultures, it doesn't matter where in the world, the bees have they are seen as sacred and as connectors between worlds. So they are seen as helping to support people who are coming into the world, the babies, and people who are leaving this world when it's a connection with human beings. And well, for me, like for example, when bees are flying in the landscape, there's a lot more going on than bees visiting flowers to pollinate. There is also an energetic interaction between the bees and the flowers, the bees and the earth. The earth has a grid, and the bees are one of the species helping to repair this grid and to enliven this grid, to maintain this grid. And well, it's not so. The more time I spend with the bees, and the more I'm also sharing with the people with whom I'm sharing this bee work, we very much like to sit with the bees and then share our sensations. And in the beginning, when I would feel things, I would think, this is crazy. Or when I saw a picture or something, it was like, no, this cannot be. And very often when we are there together with a group, we all receive information. Some people receive colors, some people receive images, other sensations in the body or thoughts. And when we put all these sensations that we receive together, very often a kind of a coherent, rich picture of something emerges. It can be something about the place where we are. It can be something about a question we have, or it can be something very specific about the bee colony that we are with. So for me, this being with other people, with the bees, is a very precious part of the work, because I didn't grow up with a learning about that I can communicate with everything around me. So all of this is very new to me. So when I am with other people and I can also learn, for example, how I can translate the things that I'm feeling into something that I can apply in my daily life. And when I also start to trust more that the information that I receive is a result of something that goes on between me and the bees, or me and the landscape, it helps me to continue spending time with the bees and to discover what this language is. Like when there's a newborn baby and you want to discover what this being needs, what it is telling without words. And there are so many languages. And for me, the vibrational language of the bee makes me also, when it's sound, I'm also connected to sound in other ways, with instruments and with voice, etc. So there's also something like, actually, there is the world of sound, the world of light, the world of matter, and they are all somehow connected. And so I also start to see like, maybe the bees already have a picture of something that doesn't exist yet, but that is a possibility. And when I am in touch with the bees, that possibility can become clear to me, and maybe it's possible then to bring it into form. Like, for example, for me, one of the magic moments in the cycle of the bees is when they swarm and they start looking for another place to live. And when they start building their home, they know already how it is going to look. And then with the thousands of bees they're able to create their home and to adapt it totally to the place where they are, the air flows, the energy lines in the landscape, the space in which they are, how many they are, how they are going to live there. So they first have a picture of what needs to be brought into form, and then it gets shape. And this on a collective level. And this is very inspiring for me, because actually I feel that in a lot of ways, if I look at at the way that I'm doing things, very often I'm lost. There is so much information. Ooh, there's a robin landing. Do you see?
What is landing?
A robin.
Ah, I see.
On that stick.
Yeah. Looks beautiful. So small.
Yeah. So I can really be drowned, like that.
Yeah.
That there's so much information, so much possibility, so many different groups I'm part of, and when I'm with that in the way that I have learned, I get crazy.
Of course.
And then when I am at a beehive, and I see how fluidly the bees are responding to a lot of things that are unexpected. Even, for example, if I totally mess up in being with them, they communicate in a different way. And they are able to I feel that they have a very big perspective about their purpose, the cosmos, and they are also very precise in their actions. So for me, this is such an inspiration that it is possible to be in a state in which it is possible to be both very aware of a very large context and at the same time very precise in where my energy flows. And this can be done in many ways. It's being with the bees. Another practice that we have is that we are every 2 weeks, every full moon and new moon, we are with the venom of the bees. The venom has this quality, the quality of being very precise, like the sting. And at the same time, it's also a substance that opens the senses and the world. If you would have a lot of venom, it can be hallucinating.
Oh my God! And this will probably sound crazy to a few people, like that because normally it's like, no, I don't want to get a bee stung, but you do it. On purpose, yeah. So
for me, venom has two qualities. One is a sign, like, no, you go too far. Defensive sting. And the other one is a medicine. Like I already said, bees are very sensitive energetically. So if you have somewhere in your body a place where energy is stuck, bees can give you a sting there, and then it's a gift. They help your body to be able to release those tensions and to create flow.
Wow.
So by being with the venom every 2 weeks, well, almost like every new moon, every full moon, a rhythm is starting. One is to be in connection with the physical substance of the venom, and then it's also the rhythm of every new moon, every full moon, being with where am I in this cycle? What is important to me at this moment? What am I grateful for? What am I wishing for the next period? So it also helps me a lot in becoming more aware of what is most precious to me. And this helps me then also to channel my energies more to what is more precious, because there are also moments that I don't know, or I feel numb or lost. And then when I am in this rhythm and I have other ways in which I support myself to still have a connection with what is really precious to me and what is very close to my heart, it's more possible for me, even in those moments that I don't know, to connect with that. And then, there are impulses that I can feel. And I can stay more open instead of that I'm really like becoming so contracted that it's only like, oh, I did it wrong, that kind of things. And at the same time, it's also a way in which I feel more able. No, it's not able. There's a kind of a fluidity growing between me and everything that is around me. So to be in touch with the vibrations and with all the qualities of all the substances of the hive, like the venom, like the wide awareness and the precision, the wax, the flexible structure. I need a structure, and at the same time I don't want to be rigid. So every substance in the hive has qualities that help me to I wouldn't say balance, but just to be more clear about different qualities of being and different possibilities of being in any situation. So, and then also because I am more with all the possibilities of sensing, I also start to sense things in an earlier stage. So I notice, oh, actually, I'm not breathing anymore. Or why am I so tense? What is happening? What is here energetically in this space that makes that I'm so tense? Or what is going on in the world or in myself or in this situation? So it's possible also to express these things faster. And also to speak about it, because there's something, but this is not something that I can push away or put away, because it's really important. If I'm not bringing this into our relationship, we lose quality in our relationship. And then we lose quality in the flow about how everything can flow together. And if we are able to be more... if I am able to be more true to what I'm feeling, and I express it, and no, that's not what I want to say. So it's also a very different way of being with each other. It's not about you have an opinion and I'm thinking, Do I agree? Am I not agreeing?
Yeah, this is the old game. I think
it's much more like, okay, so what is there at this moment for you? What is there for me? And how can we flow? Where do we meet?
Yeah.
How is it connected to the wider perspective? What is it? Why are we together?
Mm-hmm.
What is it that we want to create together?
Yeah.
And I see this always. It doesn't matter if I'm with the bees or if I'm in the surroundings of the bees, if I'm in the forest. We also have a collective tree nursery. And this is a big inspiration for me. Mm-hmm. Also that I am with people around the bees and around the trees, and in the rest of my life also when we are working with sound, where we are inspired by these energies and this way of being, and we also look like, okay, so how can we be as human beings? How can our life look like when we make part of this, how to call it, kind of it's not so easy to find a word of it, because it's more like, what brings this vibration? How does this resonate? Mm-hmm. I can feel when something maybe, the most simple way I can say it, when something brings life. Mm-hmm. Or when it's just like, I'm getting tired. No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just it is a question of energy. Sometimes someone is next to me and I feel energized, and sometimes I'm just sucked out, and I don't know why. I just know it's energy. There's some energy taking away or giving. And it's not in a balance.
Yeah, and I also start to feel it in myself, like, wow, there are so many moments that I'm like, wow, this is shitty. Why do I take it like this? I can receive this in a very different way. I can be with it in a different way. Mm-hmm. What is it that I am then expressing? What am I? How am I influencing this field? Yeah. This energy field? Mm-hmm. And for me, the bees are a great teacher and friend in that.
Every time you say to be or being, I'm always thinking about the bees now. Like, and to be, it's always this B-E-E.
Yeah.
Yes, and you were talking about the bigger picture. And because we are always having this this narrative who says we have to save the bees. What do you say to that?
Well, it's not so easy to say something to that in just one phrase.
Do you have an opinion to that? No.
For me, the question is, what are we seeing when we see that the bees are dying? It's a kind of, it's one of the signals, one of the feedbacks that we receive of something that is not right in the web of life. And so, for me, we need to save the bees is more like, what can I do where I live, in my way of being in the world, to refresh, to bring more life and more possibility for connections in the web of life. And so, if I look at the bees in Alentejo, we are a region with a lot of degeneration, and we have had quite some drought over the last years, and the landscape is also, it has become very monotonous. So there are periods in the year there is nothing to eat, and that's not only for the bees, it's for all the beings that are in nature. And we are losing so many insects and so many birds, and well, that's the beings that we can see, but look at the life of the soil. It's just, in some places, it's almost non-existing. What about the fungus? What about the diversity of plants? And especially in times where things are becoming less stable, the resilience of a place, the diversity, and how it is possible to be adaptive to everything that is happening depends. It depends on that diversity.
Yeah.
So a big question that I carry when I am with the bees is how I can learn to be with other beings. How to phrase this? So when I'm with the bees, it's very seldom that I see them in a defensive mode. I see them even when there are hornets or other so-called enemies in their environment. I see them constantly, finely responding to what is happening. So it's more like they are constantly balancing their energies and looking what they can bring into a certain environment to make the environment more alive. So when I'm looking to the bees and what the bees need, I'm looking at, okay, so what is my possibility to bring more life and health in the whole system? So instead of feeding the bees, I prefer to plant a diverse landscape. When we are with, like maybe you have ever heard about varroa, which is a mite that brings viruses to the hive. We are also interested, okay, so who is varroa? And if we are in connection with varroa, maybe not on the level of the little creature that is
killing
the bees, we are talking also about the spirit of the bees, the spirit of the wax, the spirit of the venom. So what about the spirit of varroa? What is this being bringing? And so if we know what this being is bringing, how is it then possible that we bring something into the hive community maybe that makes it more easy for the bees and the varroa to live together? And maybe the varroa is showing is another disbalance. And instead of killing the varroa, if I am interested in looking at, so what is it that varroa is showing me here, maybe then I learn a lot that makes that I'm able to to support balance, I would say. It's not balance, it's a bit tricky because actually death is a very important part of the cycle of life. So it's not obvious that it's important for the bees to keep living in a certain place. Because, for example, varroa came because we put a lot of beehives together in an apiary. Bees normally don't live so close together. They choose places further away, which makes a lot of sense because they are caretakers of this grid of the earth. So if we put them all together, there are certain places where there are too many hives, and there are other places where there's nothing. So if Varroa comes, what is it telling us? Maybe it's not telling us we have to invent chemical treatments. Maybe it is telling us maybe it's not a good idea to put so many bees together in one apiary. Okay, so it's more like what can we do with feedbacks that we are receiving? Are we willing to change our way of working, our mindset? Or do we continue with our mindset and are we going to enter in a war?
Okay, but now this Varroa thing happened. It happened.
Yes.
And the strategy from human beings is kind of, or is now, okay, we have to do this chemical stuff to save our bees, and otherwise we will also be coming to an end. So the strategy now, we have to keep them alive to make them kind of resilient to it someday.
My question is, what are we saving? Because actually, this way of being with the bees,
the honey.
The beekeepers are dependent on the bee colonies for their income. If there is no honey, they don't have an income. I don't know if I want to go this way.
Yeah, it's...
Pooh. No, I don't want to go this way. Which way do I want to go? Maybe I would like to go in this way. I'm a bit sad that we are in a culture where we are always choosing champions, and then we make a to-do list, what you can do to save the bees. And then, I have planted some flowers. I'm a good citizen. I can close my eyes again for everything that's wrong in the world. And maybe I'm... So actually, it's not this what is important to me. What's important to me is that when I hear something like we have to save the bees. So what is it that we need to save? What's behind it? Do we really want to save the bees, or do we want to save our food security? Or do we want to save the income for the commercial beekeepers? Can we save only one species? Or, what is this?
Who do we think we are that we can save anything?
Yeah, I mean that in the first place.
We can save the world.
So it's obvious that most of the landscapes are human-made, and there are a lot of things that are not okay in the landscape for a lot of the other beings with whom we share the landscape. And that's not just the bees, it's almost every being. So we can question a lot of things that brings more clarity in what we want to save or what we want to be with. And for me, one of the areas where I find a lot of joy is in discovering what is needed in the landscape for bees to be healthy, and what is needed anyway for bees to be healthy. So that is also why I'm so interested in bees in trees, like the wild colonies, because they can tell us about how bees used to live when they were still living in cavities in trees. And then I see that they are living together with a lot of other creatures. I see that they are living in small spaces and not in big hives. I see that they are not producing so much honey. They just have enough for them to live. They live in amazingly insulated spaces in thick trees, so they don't lose a lot of energy in keeping themselves warm in winter and keeping themselves cool in summer. So I can see a lot. I can see, so what happened in our ways of beekeeping? It's a kind of an exploitation. So maybe it's good to stop exploitation, and then bees could take care of themselves. And I also understand that for a lot of people that's not an option, because they chose that way of being with the bees. So then there are other possibilities about how it can become more in tune with what is also healthy for the whole ecosystem. And then in terms of landscape, I see like, actually landscapes used to be much more diverse when we had small-scale land use. So bringing in diversity in the landscape helps not only the bees, it helps also all the other species. And maybe most important of all is that always my first response, doesn't matter what I see, if I see hornets around the hive or beetles, like the big beetles who want to come into the hive, always my first response is, go away! And kind of a protection of the bees. And then when I'm able to sit longer, very often I just receive another energy from the bees. And this gives me a lot of how to call it. So at one hand I see that when bees are weak, it's time for them to go. And it's logical that there are other species that are also living there that want to make use of the resources of the bees. And it's also like, actually, this is a very important mechanism of nature, that we keep each other strong. So this is one part. And another part is there are possibilities of living together. And in this living together, there are a lot of dynamics that are playing a role. So there is this, I think there's so much more than we can see.
And that we can actually probably put into words, and that we can, when you talk about this hornets example, you want to protect them, and I have the same when I see something, but it's probably because I'm kind of stuck in this concept of time and space in my life, and in this concept of life and death. And I see it, I have to protect them in my life, and I don't see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So
well,
maybe it's a part of the evolution step that it needs to take place right now, and I can't get it in my mind that it needs to happen now, and maybe it takes a couple thousand of years that it makes sense what happens now.
Yeah. Yeah, so I really also would like to put time into the picture, and also who are the messengers that come to tell us things that help us in our evolution. And there are loads of possibilities, like we have the Varroa in the bee world, we have COVID in the human world. What else is there possible than fighting something and be in this limited view of this moment and life and death?
We just have control. We are used to control things, so there's a good enemy that we can try to control again. So I mean, this is the this is a pattern that we are trapped in.
So for me, no matter if it is Varroa or the hornets or the beetles or whatever else, if I see something that is happening to the bees, I want to get to know more about it. I want to feel what is happening. I want to be with all the energies that are playing a role. I want to open myself to possibilities that are wider than this moment and this time. And that's also again where I like so much that I have more possibility of communication with the bees, with the Varroa, with all the other elements of nature, and also to be in this with other people, and that we are looking like, oh, is there another picture than the picture of fight and the picture of an enemy? What are the other mechanisms that we are seeing? And so then from that perspective, what is it that we can do to support the innate capacity of bees and of all the other species to be healthy?
Yes. And what comes up in me is now this picture of we can also be co-creators. And because there's always this thing, oh, if the human being would not exist on the planet, then everything would be fine. So we actually it's fine that we die, we have to get rid of the human beings, then everything is going to flourish. And
for me that's also a very sad picture, because we have so many gifts and we have been co-creating for as long as we exist. So how can we become more aware of our qualities and how we can weave with all these beautiful creatures around us and all the bigger energies, and how can we be in touch with them so that we also get more of a picture about the magic of being alive right now in this moment, wherever we are placed. And then again, I see this beautiful quality of the bees to be with a bigger picture and to be a little element in their hive and in the landscape wherever they are. Somehow, every time when I have this picture, I feel that it really makes a difference. Everything that I can bring makes a difference. And yeah, it's such a gift to be part of the symphony of life.
And what can we do that we all feel that?
That's I don't know.
Annelieke, help us.
I can just say that I have a long journey of, well, how to start. I feel that from when I was very young, I had a kind of a feeling like something else is possible. And I have followed quite a lot of impulses to give shape to that. And very often I was disappointed because somehow, somewhere on the road, with a beautiful idea, somehow I felt I had adapted so much to all kinds of things where I felt that I needed to adapt to them to be part of society. That I was just very sad, and then I was like, maybe it's not possible. And I would say that I have quite an optimistic nature. And still there came a moment that I just didn't know what to do different. So I thought like, well, actually the only thing I can do is just stay in bed and make my world really very small so that I don't have to face that I don't know how to proceed or what to do to really live this
sparkle.
Yeah, this to be this spark that I feel inside. And even at that moment I couldn't feel the spark. It was just like I just didn't have energy. I was just burned out. And for me, when I came here, when I started working with the bees, learning from the bees, being part of a group of, by that time mostly women, and just receiving their love and being able to cry and to where does this go? It's also too long. I mean, I'm always a bit influenced by the camera. So actually what for me has been very precious is that I found a context here in Alentejo, with the bees, with the circle with whom I am working with the bees, the deep friendships and the possibility of just coming with everything I am, which has many beautiful sides and also irritating and dark sides, and the whole possibility of, I mean, I'm in a very privileged situation because I don't need to have a job. So through the years, I have made a lot of decisions that make that my life is connected a lot to nature, that I don't need a lot of money to live, that I'm very happy with where I am, so I don't need to travel a lot, or actually most of the things that I really like, they don't cost any money. They are readily available in nature or in the interaction with my friends. And no, this is also not an answer on your question.
No. It's all fine. It's there's no answer to any
no,
question.
No, also I don't want to give an answer. I just want to. It's so easy to look at other people and to feel like, oh, these people, they have made such good choices in their life. Look at them. And I think that for all of us, somehow there is some kind of a feeling when something is right, when it is helpful for us to be more in touch with this spark of life, and when not. And it can be a very, very, very small thing that is possible to express, or maybe to do in a different way, or maybe not even that. Maybe it's something that is always put away, and maybe it just wants to be seen. I think that there are so many possibilities that we have no idea they exist. And so once it is possible, maybe it's not so easy to find allowance for whatever you feel you would like to express in the place where you are with the people that you normally are with. So, well, if you don't want to take the risk, then maybe it's possible to find another place or another. No, actually, no, I don't want to say that, because there's so much that is possible here and now. I have a feeling, if I look at myself, there are so many things where I say, it's important, and now I don't have time. Or, but I don't know how, so I will just do it like I always did it. I feel ashamed, and I don't even want to be ashamed for myself. And actually, those are the moments, or I feel what I would really like to do, and I don't do it because it's just more easy to go with something that I have always done, or I actually am doing something to please somebody else, or to please something in myself even. And it's so giving to take little things and to see what else is possible. I don't have an advice.
Yeah.
I just have a big wish for everybody to listen to those inner voices, because we all have them in different ways, and there are so many possibilities everywhere. So how can we, for me it's, let me talk about me. For me, when I feel, oh, I'm contracting, I'm starting to take the load of the whole world on my shoulders, to beat myself or whatever, or I feel totally in the air and I have no idea, I feel lost. All those feelings, I become to be more able to be with all of them, because they all make part of the cycle. And I also start to become, I'm also asking myself, what is it that I can regulate or offer, or I don't know how to call it, but there's
bring into the world. Or?
No, it's more like when I'm tired, is it a sign that I need to go to bed because I just need to rest? Mm-hmm. Or is it a sign that actually I am wanting to bring myself to something that is not my thing, or that is draining? Mm-hmm. So it's more like, oh, so what is this feeling telling me? Mm-hmm. And then if I have an answer to that question, it's like, okay, so is it then a good idea to continue pretending that it doesn't exist, mm-hmm. or to choose something else?
Oh God, yes.
And mm-hmm. There are so many moments in the day that I know that I'm choosing things that are not really helpful.
God, yes, me too.
And well, of course, that makes part. And at the same time, where are the possibilities that I have? They can be really, really small, to follow those impulses, those little voices, or just to say, I don't know, and I'm not going to do something that I'm sure is not the right thing. Mm-hmm. And I've had a period in my life of 5 years that I didn't know what to do. And that many times I was like, no, it's not this. And so I had an amazing time in those 5 years, because it was also the time that I was with the bees and that I was learning a lot about the forest and I was planting trees. So there was a lot that, and also all the relationships around it. So it wasn't that I was in a dark pit, yeah, and that I was totally alone. And at the same time, I somehow had the feeling that everything that I did before and how I did it, I didn't want to continue doing it in that way. Mm-hmm. And I could take this decision like, okay, then I'm not doing it. And then there was space for something else. But it took a long time for that something else to become a bit clear. So very often I was like, oh gosh, what am I doing? I'm crazy. And somehow I always had this luck of having enough of connection with a kind of an inner spark of, yeah, come on. And also ever more a circle of people in a context in which I was living, where I felt, oh, here I feel more at home. And all of this is like, I'm talking about maybe 30 years of little steps and little decisions.
Yeah.
And totally not knowing at the moment that I was taking those decisions where they would lead me. Actually, I would say that the decisions that I made that were most important, they were so much based on the signs of something that doesn't have words. Like a gut feeling, a spark, something that just feels right. And not like, I want to do this because...
Answer. I need an answer. No. Yeah, I know. And what also helps when I'm sitting here, I think, is you have another kind of silence around you. You don't have so much, like where I live, I hear cars, I hear aeroplanes, I hear party sounds in the middle of the night. It's very disturbing.
Yeah, it was only when I moved from a place that was rather busy that I experienced how much this was constantly entering my field, and how my nervous system was, I would say, irritated from it. And at the same time, so many people. I mean, it's also, I feel very privileged that I could make this decision, that I could decide, yes, I want to live here. Yeah, for me, the silence and the possibility to step out the door. There are days that I forget my shoes, and that's amazing.
It sounds amazing, yeah.
Also, it's like step by step, I feel that there can be more ease and grace in this not knowing. I can be really playful even, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Well, and of course, no, maybe it's better to say, like, when I feel that I'm really coming from a place of care, and when I feel that I'm bringing everything I can to whatever is happening, then it's possible for me to feel in peace, and also to be there for any consequences that it has. And when I make a decision, like maybe a strategic decision, or because I feel that I need to adapt, or I feel overwhelmed, I feel in a kind of a power game where I am choosing something that I'm just doing to cope with the situation. There's something that is not right. And it's not that I can avoid being in those situations. And I am more able to it's not so easy to say what it is that is different. It's more like, okay, so this is then my reality at this moment. I feel overwhelmed, I feel overpowered, and I need to step out, for example. But then I make a decision like, okay, this is where I am at this moment. And it's not like, oh, because of you, I didn't do that at that moment. So it's somehow it feels that I take it more as mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also with a lot more openness. Also, there is something whenever somebody else no, that's also not always true. I wanted to say whenever somebody else so maybe this is interesting because like I am.
No, I want to know it. Whenever somebody else.
No. So I am now in no matter if it's in the bee work or in the tree forest work or in my friend circles. We have a kind of an agreement now that we follow our joy. And that we really look if something is ours to do or not. So we try to be a kind of a fluid constellation where all of us try to be as aware as possible what is happening in this energetic field. And we are all as precise as possible about what it is that we have to offer in a certain situation. And this with as little meetings and other formal communications as possible. So also like, how can I expand my senses that it's not necessary to talk so much about it, because actually that is also clogging a lot.
I totally get what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, and then sometimes I want to do something. For example, I have a brilliant idea about what we are going to do with the bees. And then I find out that all my dear friends in our bee circle have like great idea, and it's not for me at this moment. And this is a moment where it's sometimes not so easy because I have this idea and I can't do it by myself.
Yeah.
And so then there is this like, oh, am I going to force something or to manipulate or whatever? Or is it like, oh, okay. So actually then what is it that is possible now with all the resources that there are available that want to flow in a certain way? And then sometimes it's really hard in that moment.
Yeah.
And so often it's such a relief afterwards. And I can even find my joy to say, so so what is it that you want to be with at this moment? And then it's a totally different energy because it's like, and then the picture starts to flow in a very different way, and very often we all end up doing something very different than we thought, because we have been able to give space to all of those different impulses, and to give also to ask ourselves also what else is possible in the situations where we feel there is tension, or where we get stuck, or where somebody suddenly feels, actually there is a natural flow that goes in a different direction.
Yeah.
And we also have this possibility to check, because sometimes those movements are not because there's something that is really more interesting, because it's also sometimes that there is all kinds of mechanisms, like that you are afraid for something or whatever.
Yeah.
And to have this space within myself and also with my friends, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's also it's a possibility to come with whatever is there.
Mm-hmm.
And it also creates a kind of a collective energy in which sometimes I even know that it's very beautiful to be able to trust, because there are also situations in which I lose my bearings. And when there are other people around me in that situation whom I really trust, and they can just give me space to talk, and they're not like, oh, come on, everything is fine, or
but do it like
don't
this.
be crazy, or do like this. I can just
hold
talk.
The space.
They're just there.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't need to say anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can hear my own words, and then I just know if it's true or not.
Mm-hmm.
And also then I can ask, and when I ask, I also trust that I receive a real answer. And that's a big gift.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Uh-huh.
Annelieke, is there anything else you want to share with the world?
No, with the world not. I would like to just have a conversation with you.
Yeah, with me.
There's something like, for me, conversation is very specific.
Mm-hmm.
There is something that wants to come and that I want to share with you here now.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow when the camera is there,
Mm-hmm.
it's also to share with the world.
Yeah.
And then it's like,
That's why I said it.
what can I share?
No.
What can I share with the world? I don't feel it like that. I feel really like, and at the same time, I know that it can be really great to listen to somebody who is just speaking their heart. Yeah, so I have a bit of a mixed feeling about being recorded.
I can totally feel it. I have the same.
Yeah.
I know it from my job. The moment when the camera is on, or someone says now start, or the moment when I'm on stage in a theater and they turn on the light, let's go. Immediately my whole system,
even though it's your profession,
still, and but I think it's also part of this trauma where I'm so trapped in, the result needs to be good. We need a good result in the end.
Yeah.
What is the answer?
Yeah. And also like, if I say something wrong,
yes.
or
yes.
If I say something that is not received as I want,
yes.
as I meant.
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, it's not so easy for me to express what I'm experiencing. Often I feel that when when I express it, it's like, I'm in the midst of those processes, and it's not possible for me to express an essence that is very direct and very plain. And then when I speak, it starts to have these kinds of talking about layers, and then it's like, no, it's not this.
I have exactly the same. Sometimes when I talk about precious things to me that feel like a treasure, and I also have the feeling I want to protect them. It's like I don't even want to talk about them. It's just when I talk about them, and when I do it 2 times, after the second or the third time already, it's not the feel. It's not what it was anymore. It's like, I gave the present.
So for me, it's also like, it's more like the things happen, and then in the moment they can be expressed, and then they pass. Yeah.
But I can say, even if you don't feel them, I mean, I feel you on your lips. Like I feel every word you say.
Yeah.
And I really thank you for this.
Yeah, I mean, I so much would like to invite everybody just to give space to that voice or to that feeling, or and I feel that a long time in my life I have used my creativity to find ways to adapt and to create spaces for myself where I could be myself. And they were always a bit hidden and sneaky, and that's so sad. I mean, that the most beautiful things that they are hidden, that's crazy. Yeah. And I'm really grateful that they have always been so strongly present, that I just couldn't. That they wanted to find their way. So.
Yes, there's I don't even want to say something to that, but it's. There is your true, unique inner spark or light. I have my true, unique spark or inner light. Everyone has his or her own unique spark or inner light. And it seems like the easiest and hardest way at the same time to just shine with your own light.
Yeah.
I don't know, and because that's what I do. I see so many different lights, and then I think, oh, my light is not good enough. I want to be this light, and that light, and this light. But there is this voice, and I think you heard it big time, that like, and even though it's not loud, it's very. What's the opposite of loud?
Subtle.
Yeah. We're like, this wants to live inside of me.
Yeah.
This is me.
Well, that is also something where I feel huge support of the bees. When I'm sitting next to a hive and I hear the hum of the hive, it brings me to a state of being where I can listen inside, in connection. I don't need to disconnect myself of anything. It's a very, very attentive listening with all my senses. And it makes that I feel so in touch, not only with a spark or whatever. It's just like I feel the vibration of my body. I feel it's a place from which I can move in with that quality of attention and that quality of care and that quality of listening. Yeah. Yeah. And that can be with me also when I'm not with the bees, physically. It lives in my heart.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Annelieke. Hey Leute, ich hoffe, die Folge hat euch gefallen. Abonniert gerne meinen Kanal, hinterlasst einen Kommentar, geht auf meine Seite seppklein.de oder abonniert mich über Patreon.